Hey, welcome back to another edition of Printing's Alive. And today we have a wild episode. No, it's not that wild. We have a really good episode today. Today I've got a couple guests special. All my guests are special. You hear me say that every week. We've got Paul Stead, we've got Lara Vigar, and we've got Georgina Hebbard. Did I get all the names right, first of all?
No.
I didn't, eh? I never do. It's also because they're probably in purple on the screen and I'm trying to read them. So why don't you all introduce yourself for a minute and tell us a little bit about what you do. Okay, Paul, you go first.
It's Paul Stead, rhymes with bread or dead, which is a funny thing. Sometimes when I answer the phone, I say, Paul Stead, I hear people say, I didn't know he was ill. Rude, just plain rude. But I work in the commercial print sector at ASL, supplying printers, digital printers, offset printers, inkjet printers to the world. But I'm also a founding member of an organisation called Young People in Print, which is what we're here to talk about. So we'll forget about printers and focus on young people in print when you're good and ready. I'm old, I'm past it, I need to be replaced. The whole object of YPIP is to get rid of this from the print industry and replace it with these two. And these two work at ASL. So, Georgina, over to you.
So I'm Georgina Hebbard. I'm the customer success team leader at ASL. So sort of manage the contact centre, incoming queries, that kind of thing. Make sure customers have their toner, make sure service requests are logged, whether that's myself doing that or the team, and sort of progressing myself and the team sort of through that.
Cool. Lara?
I'm Lara Vigar. I'm the billing senior and I built all the customer meters, do all their invoicing, queries, credits if needed, and then also do lots of complaints as well.
So you manage the money and the grief.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. Well, we're going to have some good questions about that after and some of your customers. But let's get started with Paul. I always thought it was Steed. Or is it Stead?
Stead.
Steed. Okay, I thought it was the other one. Anyways, doesn't matter. You're here. So the reason we're here today, folks, everybody listening, is Paul was involved with a few people and started an organization called Young People in Print, otherwise known as YPIP. And they're in the UK. And I thought that was just amazing because our industry is filled with so many older people. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that they're older. And we got to open up the doors and make some way for some younger people. But our industry's always had a problem attracting younger people. Why? Well, it's a whole other episode, but we won't go there because we're moving forward. But Paul, tell us a little bit about YPIP, Young People in Print, and how it got started and why it got started, or why and how.
Why is because, as I said before, this is what the print industry looks like in the UK. We are predominantly male, stale and pale. And that's got to change. It's really got to change. And this whole project came about from a conversation with a group of friends, pissed, as usual. And I woke up the following day and thought, hang on a minute, this is a good idea. We've got print companies, and we know most of the print companies in the UK, all saying, some of them saying, we need young people in here. How do we get them in here? At the other side, you've got schools, colleges, and the like saying, we need to find jobs for young people. How do we find them? And the two weren't talking. So all YPIP did was that, put them together. We put together a website and we communicate with careers hubs who liaise with schools to find people who want to open their doors to allow young people to come in. And when young people come in and see print companies or see what print is, actually that difficulty about why they're not engaged is slightly overcome because they get excited about it. My two fellow speakers we're due to go and visit somewhere soon. We're going to go. Lara's already been out to a print company, a couple of print companies, and they look at them and wow. Young people do not understand that print is absolutely everywhere. And they also don't understand the breadth of jobs that are available. So, YPIP, let's throw it out there and get together and tell people. You know most of the people that are involved in YPIP, by the way, Warren.
No, I do.
Elizabeth Bowerman, it was her
She's
idea.
awesome.
Elizabeth came up with the ideas.
Wait. if it was Elizabeth's idea, then how come you didn't tell me, and why are you on and she's not? I'm just a question. It's a question. That's what you do on podcasts. You ask questions.
I have absolutely no idea.
All right. Well, we're going to have another one after and have her on and tell her that we made a mistake.
We made a mistake. So there's Elizabeth, Kelvin Bell, who you know, Lucy Swanston, who you know. Do you know Sarah Kilcoyne? I don't think you do. Sarah Kilcoyne, Del Simmons, and Joanna Stevenson. Most of those guys, people that you already know, but it's the same. It's the girls. It's the kick-off from the Crown pub, and people getting together and coming up with daft ideas that's created this. And now we're pushing it. Yeah.
I think it's amazing. I think it was needed. I'm actually having a podcast in a little while with the Canadian Scholarship Group and the U.S. Scholarship Group for print to discuss, also. And I'm going to talk about what you guys are doing, because you could probably lead the charge, right? So let me just bounce right now to Lara and Georgina. What were you doing before you worked for ASL? Were you in school? Were you working somewhere else?
I was a social media executive at a garage. So that had a partnership with a restaurant. I was sort of managing the social media channels and kind of like designing their kind of print stuff. So like the menus, the advertising for the pub, and kind of things like that. And then I kind of fancied a change and then came here as a customer success associate and then worked my way up.
Okay, so I have a question, because what you said was just really interesting. You're a young person who came from the social media world, doing that stuff, and then you stepped into the old world, the new young old world, call it what you want, which is kind of funny, because I think a lot of people want to go the other way because social media looks like it's so much fun. In making the change, first of all, why did you want to make a change?
I sort of after obviously like COVID, I know everyone talks about it, like I ended up working through that. The sort of social media was incredibly kind of convenient. I guess obviously you can do that not kind of in an office space. I was in the office, it was quite local. And yeah, I just genuinely fancied a change. I wasn't enjoying it as much. I kind of missed working as part of a team because I was my department. And I kind of missed the social aspect as well. So I came to ASL, and obviously we've got our team like downstairs, like Lara and I's team quite sort of close. We work closely together, and kind of then you get the social aspect and kind of the development that you can't really get sort of working on your own, sort of in a team of one. There's just you kind of thing. So I had colleagues, but there wasn't anything that I could kind of push and develop as much as I can in my current role.
Cool. Yeah, no, I work alone. I get it. And I always thought working with people was better because the ideas and everything flowed differently. But you went from social media to a brick and mortar company, basically, right?
Yeah.
They sell equipment. And how is that going from living the life to moving boxes and speaking with angry printers?
Well, in sort of the role I was in as well, there was a lot of kind of customer facing. Sort of I helped out in other like parts of the company as well. And obviously I'm in customer success now in kind of like the, I suppose, call center, contact center environment. So I was dealing with a lot of queries from customers. Obviously it was kind of more automotive related as a general rule, but I kind of really enjoyed that as well. So I was kind of taking that skill set and putting it into this. And sort of with like the elements from that, it was kind of quite transferable. Sort of working with kind of cars, and the way I was there isn't hugely different from kind of like the way we deal with things like the service kind of side, the meters kind of side. I guess it's like the servicing and mileage on cars, which I know sounds really weird, but in my head it kind of just made sense.
Hey, it's your head. I'm not going to question it, right? If it makes sense to you, it makes sense to me. Cool. So then, so Lara, what's your story? What were you doing before, and how did you end up in a room with filing cabinets?
Yeah, good background. So like going back to like school time, I trained up and done like loads of different levels of beauty therapy, and then went and worked in a salon locally and done that for a couple years. And then I could have progressed there and I could have gone self-employed at that point, but I just completely fell out of love with it, and it just wasn't what I wanted to do. And I knew that if I left it too long, I wouldn't be as happy. So I was like, just going to make the choice, and then left. Didn't know what I wanted to do, to be honest. Just wanted to be like local, not have to travel as far that I was having to travel, because it was kind of up the road, but not really, however you class it around here, I don't know. But then I was looking for jobs in the local area, and then this one come up because it was like a customer related job. I started off in the team that Georgina's team leader of, and just thought this would be like perfect, like fresh start, completely different industry, and just wanted something new, really.
Cool. So, I'm sorry. And how do you find it?
Yeah, it's great, really. Like, it's 10 minutes from my house, so it's like really convenient for like my home life as well. I can get home really quick, and everything's just nearby, which I quite like. And then everyone that I work with is so nice, and I've developed from Georgina's team into the billing team to now developing into the leader of billing team. So I've had like 3 different job roles basically in nearly 2 years, so I've been able to be progressed really well so far.
Wow. So ASL. So let me just touch on ASL. So Paul, you're at ASL. You've been there for a good part of your career, 5 years only.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they
And now you're
bought the
killing
business that we used to have. Yeah.
Cool. But so we're sitting with 2 of the employees that are young people. Do they hire a lot of young people?
Both of these ladies are on a recognised and formalised apprenticeship scheme with a regional college. They'll both come out of it with qualifications that will allow them to stay where they are or move elsewhere. ASL is a very, very young person friendly organisation in the head office. And I joked earlier on about the pale, male and stale aspect of me. The reality is, if I walk into the department where these 2 ladies sit, the balance is very much female and not stale. Yeah, so it's working really well. The company believes in encouraging young people, and these are 2 of quite a few apprentices. Are you familiar with the printing charities Rising Stars, Warren?
I am not, but I will look them up after. Tell
Have
us
a look.
about them.
It's run. The printing charity have got more money than China, and they keep it all in the bank. But they're encouraging people, young people, to step up and tell the world about their life in print. And if they need additional training, the printing charity will give funding to some people, and it's a very difficult process. There's a lot of people entered for it this year, but it's a way of encouraging people to young people to join the print industry. We have 3 people, three of the young people at ASL currently entered for the Rising Stars. So fingers crossed for all of them. I won't name them; that would be unfair. But it's just another reflection of how this company encourages young people to become themselves and excel a bit, and that's pretty important, in my view.
No, I think it's huge. I think the industry, I said it before, it's an older industry. I'm a little worried as things get a little tougher out there and people have to hang on to their jobs a little longer, right? Because that means there's going to be a little less room for the young people to come in. I think it's super important that we encourage and get as many young people as we can, just because the printing industry is one of the largest industries in the world, regardless of what anybody says. And we need to keep producing. I also think, so actually, before you guys got into the world of print, and you're not at a print company, but you're at a reseller, did you have any thoughts on the printing industry? Did you even know that the printing industry existed?
To be honest, the most kind of...
No, I want you to lie to me. Why? No, tell me the truth. I'm just kidding.
The most I kind of had to deal with it was we had a printer in the office, and obviously I'd use that to print menus and things, and it would break, and I'd ring our service provider and go, help, and then they'd help me because I'd broken it again. That was basically it. kind of like
Or you mean like
work.
a desktop, like an HP printer is the printer you're talking?
No, it was the like one of the it was a Konica Minolta something. Can't
Is she
remember.
allowed to say that name? Sorry, does ASL sell Konica Minolta?
Yes.
Okay, then you're allowed to say that name. Okay, good. You know, we
Yes.
want to watch what goes on here, and that we promote the right people that, you know, work within the company, not the competition. So that was it. You just saw a printer on the floor, and that was all you knew about print?
Well, that was kind of the extent, kind of like working wise, sort of I studied at A level, I studied product design, photography, and media. So the kind of like knowledge of print was there, and like the kind of like medias you use, I guess. Obviously using it for like projects and that kind of thing. But with regard to kind of the actual kind of inner workings of like a print company, obviously it wasn't something that was relevant to me at the time.
Have both of you guys, girls, sorry, gotta be careful, been to printing companies, actual manufacturing facilities?
We've been
Lara?
to CIP customers.
Sorry, Lara, you too have been?
Them?
You've been to
Last
printing companies.
Yeah, I've been to a couple customers, but not like any like warehousey type things or like where loads of equipment. It's just like actual customers that I build, for example.
Cool. So what do you guys think about printing and when you're in a printing shop? Are we frozen?
Printing shop.
Well, print company.
I'll give you a different view. It's unfair for these two because they've been to a couple and we're due to go to another large one in a couple of weeks' time. But I took some other members of the team to an organisation last year where there was a litho press, and they were looking at this litho press, old litho press, and the guy that runs the business was quite happy to take them up on the platforms and show them where the ink goes. And one of them said, "Is that a paint printer?" Because she'd seen the buckets of ink, so it looked like it was printing paint, which caused us all a lot of merriment at the time, and she was never allowed to live it down, and never will be. But the reality is, when you see those things, suddenly you realise actually how big the thing is. And one of them said to me, what does a machine like that cost? I said, don't ask me, ask the guy that owns it. Ask him. And she asked him, how much is that? He said, well, I'm going to probably replace that in 12 months' time, and I think the new one will be about £3.5 million. At which point her eyes went, what? To print paint. And it's not until people see that stuff that they start to understand just how big a job this really is.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And these two are in for a real eye-opener in a couple of weeks' time. They will see an organisation where there is data, the management of data, the usage of data in direct mail and promotion, for major brands. Yeah.
You know, I remember when I first went into when I first got into print and I went into a print shop, I was just amazed because everything we see outside in the real world is already done, manufactured, colored up, and whatnot. And then you go into the shop and you just watch a white piece of paper go through either a digital press or a litho. Did you say litho? Because I think it's called litho, but you know,
it might be on your side of the pond, but we still speak English here. Whatever you do in the colonies is entirely up to you. But the King's English, he says litho. Okay.
You really?
Yes.
Okay, we're not going to get into the king conversation right now, but or the queen. No, anyway, so you know, you watch the white sheet go in, and then it comes out, and it's all colorful and all like done up. And I remember bringing customers in after me, and they were like kind of blown away because most people have no idea about finished products. And then when you get into it, and then you're part of the making of it, it's kind of like pretty cool to see it, go from beginning to end, and then you're in the store and you see it somewhere in the store, right? Do you guys like print?
Yeah, it's everywhere. So
I like that. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. What do you like most about print?
it's kind of more the format. It's like if you're reading a book, obviously it's printed, and you can get a lot of like joy from reading a book, I guess. So it's kind of it's less the actual print and more kind of the like story that you get from it, if that makes sense.
No. Well, print is emotional, right? So when you say you're reading the book, whatever you get out of reading and whatever the story is, you know, the up, the downs, the highs, the lows, the excitement. And then there's also looking at a beautiful print that just makes you smile, or a litho of a painting, perhaps. I don't know. I just think print is what I like about print more than anything is that the whole world needs us. Hence, the world can't live without us. Have you thought about if there was no print, if there was no instructions on your medication, if there was no instructions on how to cook the food that you buy or do anything? Or, oh my God, IKEA, if there was no instructions, how would anybody put anything together from IKEA?
Well, yeah, but let's
Even with the instructions.
Yeah, they don't help, do
Even
they?
with the
Bad
even with the
print.
instructions, I have parts left over. So, you know, but that's because I'm a guy, right? What else do you see yourself doing in print as you grow? Or let me ask you a better question. Have you seen anything in print that has piqued your interest in a different way that you'd like to learn more about?
I was at a friend's house recently, and there was a group of us, and a couple of people I didn't know, and I ended up having a conversation about he's like a technician, I guess, but he was talking about how they were printing on cheese, and in my head I'm just really, really intrigued. I really want to see the machine that does that. It just baffled me, and we were like, everyone's having a normal conversation, or like a bit more kind of standard about their weeks. I'm like, how are they printing on cheese, and how did you fix it? And it was just the oddest kind of tangent that we went down, to be honest. But that massively intrigues me, to be honest.
Printing on cheese or printing with cheese?
Well, it was kind of both, but I didn't really get to the bottom of it because we ended up playing bootleg Articulate, so we got a bit distracted by things that were actually there.
You can, within the realms of 3D print, you can print with chocolate. So if you want something printing that you can then eat, it can be done. I think we had an open day event a few years ago where we were printing names and personalization onto biscuits in a customer's environment. Anything you want is possible, and it's only limited by the imagination that comes to make it. You know, it's just a crazy, crazy world that we live in.
That's the beautiful thing. So, Lara, I have a question. So you're in billing, working with customers and payment.
Yes.
How is that? How are customers when you call them up for payment?
So I don't take the actual money, I bill them. So I get the satisfaction of like getting all their prints together, converting the prints into the money by their CPC rates, and then pushing out big bills, and then just seeing that part of the money. So I don't get the satisfaction of it actually seeing it come in, but I get to produce the bill and saying, you owe us this much. So yeah, I quite enjoy that, really.
So I guess they got an older person dealing with the collections.
Both. There's old and young.
Some are like, they're not, no one's old. Like, yeah, there's a couple people that are like mine and Georgina's age, and then there's some people like with kids.
Go on, say it.
What?
I know where you're going.
Some
older people. Yeah.
So how many people in the company?
Totally nationwide, I think there's about 200, 180 to 200, something like that.
And what percentage of the 280 are under 40?
There was a stat came out about this just before Christmas, wasn't there?
There was a stat about how many in the company are male, and it's 71 or 2%. But I don't know about the ages. I can't remember that one. So
72% male. That about sounds right. Actually, it sounds a little lower than the average. So you guys are doing good.
It has come down recently, actually, by a couple of percent.
Yeah, in the last 3 years, it's dropped quite well. There's more ladies in the organisation than there are men. Yeah.
So, Paul, quick question. Young people in print, how many members are there?
That's not an easy answer because we've got a group page and we've got a company page. The company page is about 330. The group page is just 500 and more. But that's just a LinkedIn group page, and it actually has no reflection on what's really going on. Last year we had 77 companies ready to open their doors on International Day of Print and invite young people in and look around. IDOP this year is the 9th of October, and we're looking to do the same. So there will be print companies all around the UK keen to open up their doors. And this is just to invite young people in to come and see what print is about. But
I love that.
there's a lot more to it than that. I've got, I think, about 4,500 companies in the UK that we roll with information and keep going. And the numbers just keep growing every day as to more people who are interested in forming an open day or doing an work experience opportunity for young people. However, there is something else that a lot of these companies are finding out about after. So we hadn't been telling them before, but in the UK, if you take a tender for some government work or a tender for work, there's a big rush right now to get your ESG story, your environmental and social story correct. A lot of the schools that we deal with see young people in print as a massive tick box in their social inclusion department. So what are you doing to help the world? Hello, we're opening doors for young people to find jobs. You're doing what? And there's nobody else doing it.
I'm loving it. So with the, how do you fund YPIP?
The funding comes from the pockets of the people that set it up. We are not taking any money. We are not charging any money. We are not making any money. Everything we do is voluntary.
Well, I'm going to suggest, if there's people that are listening, that they donate money to the YPIP if you're not going to ask for it.
It's getting expensive in certain respects.
No,
Yeah.
all kidding aside, and the reason I was asking that question is I'm always amazed when organizations start, or there's organizations out there to help people, and a lot of companies don't participate or don't do anything or don't give anything. And I just I want to call them all out. Like, if you're in the world of print, you need to support some local organizations. If you were to charge 250 or 500 pounds or quids or US dollars or anything but pesos, it's not a lot of money for a company, because we make bigger mistakes when we cut paper sometimes the wrong way, right? But you said that there was 4,000 companies at $500 is a lot of money to help events and fund and assist people in working. Like, there's so many more things I see that you could do with this organization if you had some funds.
And I would agree with you. Today, as I said, we've spent our own money doing it. We have incurred a few expenses, but that's life. It doesn't. The issue is, when we set this up, we set it up as a not-for-profit idea on the basis that if we're not seen to be making money, if we're not seen to be taking anything out, then it is genuinely a philanthropic exercise where nobody can say to us, you're making money out of that, I'm not going to support you. We just want people to say the idea is the right idea. Let's get more Georginas. We need lots of them. We need more Georginas. We need more Laras urgently, because you and me, mate, we ain't living much longer.
Hey, speak for yourself.
Well, you fall off your fishing boat and drown anyway. But the reality is our days are numbered. And we need to find young people, and spending money to do that. I don't have a problem spending some of my own money, and the other people
No,
in YPIP don't have a problem.
I get that, but I'm thinking like this. If there's 4,000 companies and we can get, now I'm saying we as if I'm part of this because I really like the idea. But if you could, whatever dollars you could generate from these companies, you are a nonprofit. The money would go to promoting young people. The money could even be set up to help some young people who need financial assistance to get moving. It might even be. Sorry, I'm thinking some of these companies might get back some of the money that they put in over time by having young people come in and work a stage or see if they like it, or there's 100 different things, right? But if everyone's willing to go spend $500 a week at the buying drinks for people and friends, I'd rather we take that money and put it into the young people in the industry.
I'd like to see money spent on training so that Georgina and Lara can get those extra courses that they need for. I'd like to see somebody sponsor that. There's the other aspect of location, which Lara mentioned. It's handy at ASL, it's close to her home. But if it wasn't, the costs of busing people or moving people, young people from where they live to a place of employment, that's a real benefit to young people because it stops them getting to work. And if there were funds out there to pay the costs. Listen, what we've learned this time, Warren, what we've learned from setting this up in the UK, if it ever gets replicated abroad, and we have had conversations with people in Belgium and in France, if it got set up abroad, we may approach it slightly differently and suggest that it's not run as a cost-free exercise, that there is some funding put into it to support those specific needs of the young people. The importance is that the money is spent on young people, not spent on me getting a new hairdo or a new pair of glasses. That's the important bit of it.
I'm certainly not going to be doing my hair if I get some money, but
it would be a short bill.
No. So what about when you say other countries? Like, why can't YPIP be in Canada, in the US, part of the Canadian Scholarship Trust or the Graphic Arts Foundation?
Because you haven't got the 7 people that set it up in the UK sitting there. Now, if those people exist, if you and I get together with Jamie McLennan and have a conversation with him about it, you might think, hang on a minute, there's something to be done here. Chuck Joanne Gore in the mix and you've got a lot of voice. And it's the voice that is the issue. It is purely the voice. Well, not purely the voice. There's the get off your arse, get off the sofa and do something about it rather than just talk about it. There's got to be a bit of that too. But there's no reason why it can't go everywhere.
Well, I'll help you and put my name behind whatever it is that you want to do because I think it's great. Ladies, do your when your friends talk about what they do for a living, and you say I work at ASL, a company that sells printing equipment, what do they say?
I don't really know. Like, I got a friend a job here at one point. He become interested in selling. It's like more like, what do you do then in it as such? It's like the knowledge of not knowing. Some people don't know. Like, before I started, I didn't know what the printing industry was. So then it's like when people say, oh, what do you actually do? Like, what is that? And then they become a bit interested in what I do as such.
I think as well with our like ASL specifically, people are like, oh, what do you print then? And I'm like, we don't, the thing obviously are like, yeah, like the business that we're in, we're not actually doing the printing, we're supplying the printers, which I don't know why it takes people a little bit to get their head around sometimes. They're like, well, don't people just go and get them? I'm like, no, it's not just a little like desktop box on the side. No, these things are massive, like they're big customers. And trying to explain that, and I was having a conversation with my parents when I first got the job, and I was explaining, and they were like trying to, because it's, if you don't know about it and if you're not in the industry, it seems really odd. I think people think you just buy a printer or it just appears in the corner of the room and it prints. And obviously after being here a couple of years, it's not that simple kind of thing. It's a lot more in depth than that, actually.
Oh, I remember bringing, always wanting to bring customers into the factory because everybody thinks they give it to you in a day and they get it back 2 days later. And it doesn't matter if it's a single sheet or if it's die cut, folded, embellished, and die cut, anything. And then you would bring customers in and you would walk them from when the file comes in the estimating room down to the pre-press, into the plate room, into the press, to the finishing. And then at the end, their mouth was like hanging on the ground going, oh my God, I didn't know. And then I would turn around and I go, yeah, well, now you know, so give me a few extra days, right? Yeah. And then it just changes. And I always thought it was important to bring customers into the place to show them what's involved. Listen, on YouTube, I watch how they make that because I'm always interested in how they make everything and how we get it because it just shows up on our desk. But I think that the more of that. So did you have any friends who've asked to come in and see what you do? Like, any interest from anybody? Like, I'm just curious if young people talk about print ever amongst themselves and go, hey, you should see this brochure we just did. Or you should see the machine.
And that's half the problem.
Brochures. Sorry?
Young people have got better things in their lives to talk about. Print, this is the issue.
Well, I think that's mildly unfair because I think we don't talk about it in the way that kind of you'll talk about it in the way of like the printers and things, but we'll we'll be looking at like home decor and we'll go, oh, that's a really cool print that we put on our wall. And then the people that actually like are in the business and in like that environment will then have a conversation about it. So I think we are having conversations about it, just not in the same way. And it's a lot more subtle than, oh, look, this was printed on this printer. And I know that it's more, oh, that's cool. I wonder how that was done. And then we have our own thought process about it.
Cool. Listen, I mean, you guys don't, I mean, a lot of young people don't even realize the print, but everything that they do that's personalized, you know, if they go buy Nike shoes online, if they go buy t-shirts, if they, something comes with their name on it, like everything is printed, like legitimately. I get into fights with people when they say to me, print's dead. And then I go off on a tyrant, like, what do you mean it's dead? Look around. You wake up in the morning, there's books on your table, everything in the bathroom you're going to use. If you're female, all your cosmetics come in really nicely embellished printed boxes, all that makeup. And then you go in the kitchen and you haven't even left the house and you've been inundated with print. So print is really anything but dead. You have to start screaming at people when they say print's dead, right?
I've interviewed a few people for the YPIP blog, and one of them, a young guy called Hayden Cooper. If anybody looks at the YPIP website, go to the blog page, find Hayden Cooper. He left school at 16. He works for a company in Harlow, and he now says that when he goes out at the weekend with his mates, he can't not see print. So while his mates are looking around the shops at things to buy, he's looking at the displays and thinking, how's that done? How's this done? He's completely obsessed with it. And he's a young lad. He's 17, 18, not quite 18. But he can't not see print any longer. You just got to be showing it. These two are going to tell me off after this. They're going to say, what's the matter with you?
No, but if you think print, all the trading cards, the Pokemon cards, everything all these little kids are playing with, they're all touching the embellishment. They're all touching all of the print and all the good stuff, right? You have to keep doing that. Do you have young people day at the office where you bring in all young people?
They're already young. They have old people day.
Me and Georgina aren't even the youngest.
You're not the youngest?
Are we allowed to ask? Are we allowed to ask your ages? Lara, how old are you? How young are you?
Can you guess how old you
by the way, I would never ask that question because I know how inappropriate it is. I wouldn't ask your weight and I wouldn't ask your age.
Okay, I want you to guess how old you think I am.
No, I'm not doing that. This is going online. I'm not doing that.
Not yet.
Are you mad?
You know, I also kind of want to know.
I'm going to go with 21.
Bang on. I usually get 25, so you're bang on, yeah.
Oh, I always take 4 years off whatever I'm thinking just to cover me.
Brilliant.
Listen, I'm being a little older. I've been through the ringer, so I'm not looking to get beat up again and again and again, right? So what do you love about what you do, each one of you? Georgina.
I like the kind of problem solving. So when we have customers that have encountered an issue, I know Lara mentioned about the complaints kind of sometimes kind of preempting a problem to kind of stop it before it kind of becomes that. Sort of, I know we're doing a lot of development in my team for like remote resolution. So we've been running what we call the first line initiative and kind of like building up the team's knowledge. And I really like kind of problem solving and putting new processes in place to just make things a bit quicker. Like efficiency is always key. So trying to make sure like we're not wasting time. We're trying to make sure everything is as streamlined as possible for our customers as well. I think that's probably what I enjoy the most, because at the end of that you have a happy customer, which is obviously the goal. But yeah, I think the kind of problem solving kind of element and like just the processes I really, really enjoy.
Cool. Lara, what do you like most?
Oh, for me, like when we've taken on other companies, like inherited their business and that sort of thing, it's more like where they've gone wrong in the past with, like, obviously I deal with the billing, so where they've gone wrong with like overbilling them or readings have got mixed up or something, and then picking apart where it went wrong to then make the customer feel happy and satisfied. Now we're sort of in control of their account and everything. So it's like, just like Georgina said, like problem solving, like us day to day, I problem solve all hours of the day. So yeah, it's that side of thing really. But then I just love doing a manual invoice. Sounds really boring, but for some reason, like just making it look neat with capital letters in the right places and putting the price on it, it's just, I don't know, it just satisfies me for some reason.
Hey, I like that. Who doesn't like billing, right? It's actually the most important. It's one of the most important things that go on: the billing and then the collecting. I have a
People do forget.
question. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
People do forget.
People
They
do forget
Mm.
regularly. So being young in the industry, dealing with customers, are people kind to you, respectful? Do you find them rude?
I think it's subjective.
And by the way, I'm not asking you to name any names of the people, right? I'm just trying to get a feel what your take is on how, an old industry is
Like
interacting.
different of like rude customers.
Yeah.
So like I get rude customers because I'm charging them for something they probably don't want to pay for. But then Georgina gets the rude customers because she's trying to help them fix something, and some people just don't want to be helped.
The thing I kind of find with like my team side of it is the way obviously the system works is by the time we are notified of something, it's kind of already a problem. So like we get the call to log a ticket for a service call because the printer's not printing, which is generally what it's doing. It'll be jamming, or every kind of thing that could go wrong with it, we probably had a call about. And by that point, the customer's already annoyed because they've already probably had a Google, they've done those things. And by that point, they're already frustrated. So they've kind of pre-wound themselves up sometimes. So we're on the phone trying to help them. And although it's not, like, it's obviously not our fault, we didn't go and put paper in the machine that's jammed it, but we're also the kind of first contact to kind of take that out on, which I'm not saying happens all the time, because we do genuinely have some really, really lovely customers that we have really, really good relationships with.
You're allowed to name the good ones if you want.
We do, and honestly, some of those customers have been the ones that have had a problem, and they're like, "No, I need to print, and I need to print now." And I'm like, "No, I understand. We are trying to get that, but I need to understand what the problem is in order to fix that." And sometimes the issue is just like getting the problem, like just from the start. Really, is trying to kind of get that out of them so we can get from A to B. Yeah, I think that's kind of the issue with that we encounter is, just by the time they contact us, they're already annoyed. There's not loads we can kind of do about that.
You almost want to tell them to like take a breath, right? So if you're a print owner working in a print shop and you're listening and you're calling for service, ASL in particular, right? Especially if it's Georgina or Lara, be nice.
Can I make an observation?
No, but you know what? I learned this at the airport, right? It doesn't matter what the situation is. When you are nice, you get back a better response and things tend to go a little better. So even at the airport, I mean, I was on a flight that was canceled and everyone runs to the ticket booth and I get there first because I'm faster. And I pushed everybody down. And I just say to the person right away, I go, by the way, I'm going to give you a great experience. I will not be like the rest of the people behind me. And right away, the guy just started laughing, and I offered him my sympathies for what he would have to deal with after me. And he managed to move me and get me on a flight because screaming at those folks doesn't get you anything, right? Or any faster. So same thing when they call in, a printer should call in for service. I think most companies are there to service them in the best, quickest way possible they can. I guess why the printer's so uptight is usually it's his operator that's caused the problem.
No, can I make an observation, Warren?
Sure, it's your show.
It's really relevant to this and relevant to the whole YPIP story. You and I are slightly older gentlemen.
You keep saying that. Stop it.
But we are, and we're grumpy and cantankerous. When I listen to the way the teams downstairs talk to customers and talk to each other, they communicate with each other far better and far friendlier than people of my generation. It's a simple fact of life. And that's why we need more younger people in the industry, because they are kinder to each other than I would ever be. And it's not just me, it's grumpy old men We're not as good at communicating as young people are, and they're very impressive, really impressive.
Oh, I would agree. I would agree. No, there's no reason everybody shouldn't just be nice. Listen, what did we learn through COVID? Everything gets done. Nothing's that important in life. We all live, we all survive, right? So I just think
Those two were at school then. They don't know what you're talking about.
I missed my
I-
GCSEs.
I didn't have to take my A levels. It was really weird.
hey, we
Don't
we
make
all
you
have
feel
to
bad.
learn. We all have to learn from each other, right? I'll tell you, one of the things that I've learned from younger people is there's no reason to work, 5 or 6 or 7 days a week to get something done. You need to enjoy life a little. And whoever in the old people came up with the term of I paid my dues, I don't know where that came from, but I never liked it, and now I don't hear it anymore. So it's kind of pretty good. So so we're going to wrap up in a moment or two, but to the ladies, what would you say to young people out there about print on either side? Don't jump up fast.
Yeah, I think sort of what Lara said, like look into it, but also just like if you're thinking about it, just like look around and kind of see what is printed. And then if you think that's cool, look into it because there's probably a job there somewhere. Like whatever it is, even if you have a conversation about printing on cheese, like look into it. Like there's definitely going to be something there somewhere. And the best thing you can do is reach out and just ask the question, because that's probably one of the most like flattering things you can do as well, is just ask the question and go, how do you do this? Because I think it's quite cool. And that like reaching out could be like the start of like your career, just by doing that simple thing.
Cool. Lara, any thoughts? Print?
Yeah, no, what I said before, Georgina, just looking into it, and just like with me, I wanted a completely new career. So like looking into different options within print, because you don't have to just sell a printer. You don't just have to you can be the customer service side of a printing business. Like you don't have to just sell it and such. So there is loads of different jobs, whether it's installing the printer or billing it. Lots of different options to look at.
Cool. So I think it's important for everybody out there to know, Paul's made it clear that it's an old industry with a lot of old people, but the industry today is not the same as it was that I think a lot of people think about, where you're using old equipment, big equipment, you're cranking things, you're putting ink in everywhere, and you're coming home with ink under your nails like a mechanic. Today, the print industry has advanced technologically so far that the big litho presses, is that it? Litho?
Yeah.
The big litho presses are like giant video games. Everything's a push button preset, checked into the pre-press. You got big monitors at the front of the press, watching every sheet go through in cameras. Digital presses are preset, folders are preset. You're not getting the same paper cuts, and you're not going home dirty. So I just think it's important that we have to promote that out to the world, right? Because not everybody I never got dirty in print. I never wanted to. I had someone else do the dirty stuff. But it's so important because the software that we're using, right? State of the art. AI. How about AI? I just want to touch on AI for a minute. You guys touch on AI at work at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good answer. Yep. Next.
So we have we're developing something called Ava, which is an ASL virtual assistant, and she's on our website, and she can sort of we promote it a lot in the service centre, is seeing helping customers rather find their tracking, if they're looking for an order, if they're trying to log a ticket, things like that. They can reach out via Ava as well and be in contact with the service centre that way, rather than kind of picking up the phone as well. I think the team's found it really, really useful, because kind of dealing with stuff sort of via email and things like that, you can, efficiency wise, you can kind of get a lot more done because the information's already there. Obviously it's lovely to speak to customers as well, but if they're in a rush, they might not want to ring up and kind of go through that process. So I think we find quite a few people are making use of that.
Yeah, I actually started using that on other people's websites when I'm looking for something, and I realized rather than run around and try to navigate through the site, just ask the assistant there who will give you the answer, and then you know where you're going, right? As opposed to just waiting. I think AI is pretty great, and I think we all just have to embrace it because there's so many things you could do with it. But we'll leave AI for another conversation. So I just had a thought, like, when I think of the older people, we would take magazines when we go into the bathroom and we read. Do young people take magazines or books in the bathroom, or is it just electronics?
Just phone or
Just
iPad.
phone, eh? Well, all right. I guess the way you're saying it, you haven't experienced dropping it yet. But once you drop it, you're going to go back to print, right? It's a lot easier and cheaper. In the bathroom, print is cheaper than electronics. So that's pretty good. Anyway, that's my thought. Anyways, we'll wrap it up. First of all, ladies, thank you so much for coming on. I know you didn't know what you were walking into. I hope it was good. You're more than welcome to come back on another time. And you know what I'm going to actually suggest? When you're speaking to customers, billing customers, or customers with equipment, ask them if they have young people in the shop. Speak to the young people and ask them if they would come on the podcast with you, because next time I would like to have just under 30, and I'll be the only old guy. Paul could listen quietly on the side. But no, I would really love to talk to more people that are younger, and I'd love to talk to people that are working together as well and get a good, good perspective of what it is, and then we could use it to continue to promote. Paul, I'm good to help out with young people in print, whatever it is that you need. People listening out around there, I think you should call up, and if they don't ask you for money, maybe donate a few £100. Give them a head start. I promise you it'll come back and benefit you. Ladies, would you have any final words you want to say? Great. Love it. No, I'm just kidding. I always do that. Anything you want to say? Words of encouragement to young people listening?
I think as much as Paul obviously says, it is kind of like a very like male based kind of old environment. I think Lara and I's kind of perspective of it is a bit different, because sort of coming into the office, there's like the team I know that we work with, we're quite young, kind of at head office, whether we're upstairs or in the downstairs office, like it is quite a young environment. We're all very like active and trying to help each other. We're quite proactive, just trying to get our jobs done, and like I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. So I think as much as like I say, Paul's saying it's quite old, I think sort of it depends upon who kind of walks into the office. Obviously not in a rude way, but obviously it's quite dependent, because I know our team specifically is quite young, and I think like that doesn't make us any less good at what we're doing. Like we're very on it, like trying to get stuff done. So
hey, even the old people had to start somewhere once, and they made mistakes even if they don't admit it.
Yeah. The enthusiasm that we get from the young people in ASL is quite humbling, really. They're cool. They're a cool bunch. Yeah.
They're a cool bunch, eh? It's good. Yeah. No, well, so I'll tell you this: the old industry, and I keep saying it, but when I had my company, honest to God, the best people working were the women, because your attention to detail is far superior than to most men, right? So I think we need more women in the industry if we want to be more efficient and be more profitable. I'm sure it'll cost us in the end something, but I think it is a good thing. And I like some of the change I've seen going on in the industry. Paul, any final words from you?
Very simple. If you're a print company and you want to employ young people, find our website. It's really easy. YPIP.co.uk. Send us a message and we'll put you in touch with the people that are looking for jobs. And likewise, if you're a young person looking for a job, do exactly the same in reverse. And let's just open the lines of communication, because that's all it needs to be. And I would say to those companies who have an aged workforce who are frightened of taking on young people, grow up. They're good people. Get them in there and give them something to do and encourage them and make them feel like valued members, not just somebody that's there to make a cup of tea.
Everybody has to start somewhere, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
You don't come out a genius, or
Well,
not
I
very
did,
many,
but that's a different thing.
right? Cool. First of all, thank you all for coming on. Great conversation. We're going to continue the conversation. Everybody listening, if you made it this far, as I always say, good for you. Go spread this episode. Tell somebody to listen to it. Tell young people. Tell old people. We got to get more people listening to the young people and encourage them.
Yeah.
If anybody knows anyone who wants to be on the podcast, you got something relevant to say, something really good to say, then let me know. I want to help you say it. Again, everybody, thank you so much for helping me promote print, all sorts. And folks, we'll have you back on again for a follow-up in 6 months to a year. By the way, quick question. Has anybody been offered a job by any of your customers?
I tell you what, I don't know about people. I've taken lots. I've seen schools and careers people and taken them to print companies, to Konica Minolta's showroom, and to a few of the manufacturer showrooms, and to print companies. And I've had lots of people who are not in print saying to me, "How do I get a job doing this?" Never mind the young people, the grown-ups. How do I get a job doing this? And I think 1 or 2 people have had job offers too.
Okay, cool. Okay, on that note, we're going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for listening. Tune in. Everybody, thanks for coming on.
Thanks
Speak
for your
soon.
time, Warren, as always.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Cheers.